See, again it's giving this. I don't know why. क्यों कर रहा है? ऐसे करना है क्या? Yeah, but then I won't be able to. Should I? Let me try this way. Okay, let's try this way. Tag is different. Okay, let's put it this way. Fine.
Okay. So we discussed that how confidential knowledge is knowledge of the soul. Krishna the very first knowledge he gives Arjuna is, and to us is that you're not the body but the soul. And more confidential knowledge is about Krishna. Beginning from chapter 4, he begins to speak a little bit about himself, and progressively more and more that there is God, and God has a form. His name is Krishna. So he reveals more about his divinity. So that is more confidential knowledge. Now he begins to reveal that how can the spirit soul come in contact and re-establish a relationship with the personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada says this is the most confidential knowledge because through the process of bhakti, the jiva can not only come in contact with Krishna, but can conquer Krishna. Because Krishna is revealing his weakness, so to speak. He's talking about the fact that he has a soft, later on he will talk about in this chapter only, that he'll say that I'm equal to everybody. There's nobody who's special to me. And then he says, but I'm partial to my devotees. So that is Krishna's weakness, devotees. That Krishna makes so many rules and regulations, laws of karma are so complicated. Everything is working like a well-oiled machine. Do this, this will happen to you. Think like this, that will happen to you. Every action has some kind of reaction. So many complicated laws, and Krishna effortlessly puts all that, and the world is working. And Krishna is just standing back and watching everything. But when a devotee comes in the play, then the equation changes. And then Krishna, he personally becomes attached to the situation. His detachment goes away. All his neutrality, it goes away. He says, Samoham sarvabhuteshu na me dveshasti na priya ye vachante te mam bhaktya maititeshu chapyam. He says, Samoham sarvabhuteshu, I'm the same to everybody. Na me dveshasti na priya. I don't dislike anybody, I don't like anybody. And then the but comes. Ye vachante te mam bhaktya. But for a devotee who is worshipping me, maititeshu chapyam. I live in him and he lives in me. So very, very intimate connection that he establishes. So the 9th chapter also is most confidential because it contains one of the very difficult tattvas to understand, and Krishna tries to explain it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave it a formal name, which is the Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva. So that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's unique contribution. So Tattva was always there. It's there in Bhagavad Gita. It's obviously there since time immemorial. But just like the laws of motion were always there, and then Newton said, okay, this is how it works. So it became Newton's law of motion. Not that he discovered it, but they were always he caused them to happen, but he was able to articulate them and explain them. So similarly, Mahaprabhu, he explained the Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva, and that is explained to some extent in the 9th chapter. And Bhed means difference. Abhed means non-difference. So Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva means the inconceivable simultaneous difference and non-difference. And this simultaneous duality and non-duality is only seen when spirit comes in contact with matter. So the tattva is only seen in the material world, it's not seen in the spiritual world. And it only comes into play when, because this is one of the most bewildering aspects of material creation. That how does the spirit come in contact with matter? And how does the spirit begin to identify with matter? So the tattva, it is used in terms of to understand, and in slightly different ways. It's used to understand the interaction of jiva with the material world, and it is used to understand the interaction of Krishna with the material world. And they're different in the way that Krishna never gets bewildered by the material world, and the jiva does. But the tattva is there to explain this, the interaction. In this chapter, it is more so to explain Krishna's interaction with the material world. So the first 3 verses in the chapter were more so to establish faith, or to establish the qualifications of understanding this chapter. Because Krishna is going to explain something that is highly confidential, so he tries to explain the qualifications of the student. What are the prerequisites for one to get the most confidential knowledge? Does anybody remember what did Krishna establish as the prerequisite? Non-enviousness. And non-enviousness translates to faith. That the person should have faith. And that is why this is the most confidential knowledge, yet it is openly present. Somebody would say that if it is most confidential, then why don't you hide it? So, in many sampradayas it is said that it's 5 things that should be hidden. Your spiritual name, your mantra, your beads, other 2 I don't remember. I think it was in Guru's name. I forget the 5th. But it is said that one should not reveal these 5 things. And we still say it's more prevalent in South and all. But in South, sometimes when you talk to a person, and they'll say, yeah, we chant a mantra, but we can't tell that to you because a guru gave it to us. It's confidential. Or they'll say, we've been initiated, but we can't tell our initiated name to you because it's a spiritual name. I'm not really sure what the reason is. One person I asked, so many years ago, but one person I asked, they said is that through spiritual names, a person who has knowledge of tantric vidya can harm you through knowledge of the spiritual name. I don't know how bona fide that information is, but this is a different kind of confidential knowledge, that it is openly present, but it is guarded by our own qualifications or our own lack of qualifications. Yeah. So it is openly present, and Krishna says that one who has faith in me, who is non-envious to me, can only understand it. So they say that we have to hide something, well, you hide it in open sight. So that's what Krishna is doing. And obviously he does not want to hide it from those who are qualified. So beginning from the 5th verse onwards, Krishna is talking about his relationship with the material world. Beginning from the 4th verse, Krishna is beginning to talk about his relationship with the material world. So the 4th verse is, by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So he's gradually introducing this achintya concept. So one might say, how is that possible? If all beings are in you and you are not in them, how is that? How is that possible? Then the next verse he says, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulences. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself, is the very source of creation. And Prabhupada will of course reveal a little bit more of the mystery, but I want to hear from you. What would you think? So let's look at let's not consider the Krishna equation, but let us more consider that our own. How is it possible that we could create something, we could completely be fully immersed in the creation, and yet we say that it has nothing to do with it? So we have all experiences of creating something, right? We have created small things, big things. We have created. Sometimes we have written things. Sometimes we have made things with our own hand. Every time we cook, we create an experience, experience that is nourishing and tasty. So we have all experience of creating small and big things. But think about it, that how would you make this statement that I have made this halwa but yet it's not been made by me?
The ingredients are not made by us, right?
Oh, Haribol. You just manifested. The ingredients have not been made by me. That is a good point. We haven't made the ingredients.
Right. We just put something together but not created creation.
And that will instill a sense of humility in us, right? That we are not creating, we are not the primary creator, we are just secondary or tertiary or nth down the line creator. What else?
I have always had an experience where when I cook for God as an offering, it always comes out very well. So somehow it's been a pattern, so somewhere along the line I started feeling that every time I'm making, it is an offering. So then automatically the focus is not on whether I'm making and whatever I'm doing.
Good.
It's just I'm preparing an offering.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
The body itself is given by Krishna. It is not that I planned this body. And if I am in some animal body, I can't make the dish.
Very good.
Intelligence is not given. It is given.
Yes. All very good points. Any other thoughts?
I think even the intelligence or the knowledge of putting something together, it's not even our own.
That's not our own. Yeah, same point Prabhu is making. It's been given by Krishna.
Right.
And we're using it in Krishna service. So the underlying, and these are all manifestations, but what is the underlying sentiment? The underlying sentiment is that of detachment. That's the underlying sentiment, right? That I'm not the enjoyer. So when I'm cooking something, so it's not that you're cooking and salivating that, oh, this is for me, but you're cooking and saying that it's for Krishna, right? So I'm not the enjoyer. Then I'm not the doer also. Who's the doer? The body is the doer, it's not my body. The intelligence, not my intelligence. So essentially what am I doing? I am going to the Ganges, taking water of the Ganges and offering it back to Ganges, right? So we are taking whatever Krishna has given to us and offering it back to Krishna. That's our glory. That is our glory. That we are able to take what Krishna gives us and somehow able to give it back to us without a sense of proprietorship, without a sense of doership or enjoyers. So this is the achintya. So it's not achintya anymore because we have all made it chintya, but this is the achintya part. That anybody looking at you will say that this halwa has been made by Janaki. Who made this halwa? Janaki made it. And Janaki will say, I didn't make it. Right? And both the statements are correct. Right? She made it, but she did not make it. So that's what Krishna is talking about, the material universe. Now of course Krishna is Krishna. So he does not have that thought that this is not, somebody has given it to me. It's not mine. Because everything is coming from Krishna. But he has this strong sentiment of detachment. That whatever he is doing, and the third chapter begins to talk about this whole notion of detachment, that whatever that he is doing, it is being done by his energies. So it's being done by him, but yet he is not the doer. Prabhupada would give the example of how in a country everything is being done under the authority of the president. But yet the president is not doing anything. The president is sitting in the White House, or in our case the president is playing golf in Florida, and everything else is going on. But it's happening on the name of the president. The president is doing this, the president is doing that. So all the government officials, the ministries, they're the energies. They cannot do anything without the president's approval. If he wants to fire somebody, which he does on a daily basis, then that person is gone, right? And if he wants to hire somebody, then that person is, and everything is an extension of the president. But yet he is not doing anything there. So Krishna wants us to understand this clearly, because one of the biggest reasons that people lose faith in Krishna is because of material trials and tribulations. They say that if Krishna is God, then why did I stub my toe? If Krishna is God, then why did my loved one pass away? Why did I fall sick? And this is very, very real. I remember once I had gone to Mangal Arati and there was a person sitting outside the temple, and I asked him to, you're coming at such an auspicious time, come in and attend the Arati. And he said, no, I won't come in, I'm very angry with Krishna. I said, why, what's going on? He said, he didn't tell me much, but he had some situation going on, and he said, I used to come for Arati every day, but the situation became, everybody cheated me, my family cheated me, and I tried to do good for everybody, nobody helped me out. So I still want to come, but I'm going to sit outside, I won't come inside. And when one begins to hold Krishna responsible for activities that you've done in the past or the present, right now, theoretically, so people will ask, and this is a question that people will ask you also, or you might ask yourself also, that if Krishna is all powerful, then why can't he just, like we say, it's karma. You do bad things will happen to you. Do good things will happen to you. Krishna is above karma. Right? So then why doesn't Krishna take away the effect of karma? Does that mean that Krishna is weaker than karma? Does that mean that we should worship the god of karma? Who's the god of karma? Huh? No, Yamraj. Yamraj is the god of karma. He's the one who's looking at all your activities, right? He has a secretary. What is Yamraj's secretary name? Chitragupta. And what does Chitragupta have? He has a sword and he has a pen. Right? So with the pen he's writing everything. With the sword he chops away people. And Yamraj is the Yamraj gives you the future results of your karma. And who gives you the present result of your karma? Shanidev. Yamraj's brother, Shanidev. He gives you the present result of your karma. So whatever is happening to you now, because of whatever suffering or enjoyment that you're happening now, is because of the influence of Shani. And Yamraj, he decides on what will happen to you in the future. So in India here I don't see that much, but in India on Saturdays people will come and they will have a small deity of Shanidev, and they have oil. They have oil because Shanidev is limp, so he needs oil to massage his foot. So they have oil, and then you can give donations of oil or give some money. So that is supposed to relieve your immediate material distress. So then people will say that why don't we just worship Shanidev? Why don't we worship Yamraj? That would be much more fortuitous for us. In a way, the majority of the people do follow that path. right? They do. They follow the path of immediate relief. They may not worship Yamraj or Shanidev, but they may worship Durga Devi, they may worship Lord Shiv, they may worship other devas. And later on, Krishna in this chapter only, he talks about his relationship with such people who worship but not him, who have faith but not in him. So the 9th chapter is actually one of the most philosophically fascinating chapter in Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna talks about so many tattvas. So I will start with the 6th verse, but I just want to pause and see, based on a little prolonged introduction, if there's any questions or comments.
One question, Prabhu. Prabhu, you mentioned that because of trials and tribulations, people go away with Krishna, but you are giving an answer why we should not blame Krishna also. That point actually I could not grasp it.
So at least in one who is a devotee, but generally also, if one begins to understand that there is only one person who is responsible for everything that is happening to you, and that's the person that you see in the mirror, right? So that takes a lot of the burden away from the whole blame game burden away. You will actually see this in a lot of successful people, that they tend to take responsibility. They may not have that spiritual connection, but they tend to take that responsibility. Even in any organization, you will see there are two kinds of people, right? One kind of person, your project didn't go through. This happened, that happened, this person did that person did that, right? There's another kind of person who said, this project did not go through. Let me see, what can I do? So they take responsibility to do it. And they are generally the people who are more successful. Similarly in life, there are people who tend to take responsibility, and they'll say, okay, whatever is happening is happening, Maybe if they have a little bit of spiritual understanding, then they'll say it's because of the cycle of karma that is going. People who are a little bit more advanced, they will say, and trying to think of there was this conversation, I'm trying to think which it was, that something really bad happened and the person was very happy about it. I said, why are you happy about it? They said, that means that this karma is now gone. One less thing for me to worry about. It was there, it was waiting to fructify. It's kind of like, when you're in school, you've done something naughty, you get called to the principal's office, and in our school we used to get it checked, and they would say, come to the principal's office at 3 p.m. or somebody would be at 4 p.m. or 2 p.m. and till the time that time would come, we would be all in anxiety. What would happen? So our principal, he would either have a ruler or he had a cane, depending on what you did. He had different kinds of ways to punish us, right? And the person who would come and say, at 11 a.m., right, that person would be the happiest. I'll go get it done over the rest of the day, it's going to be okay for me. The person who had it, at the last, that person would be whole day on pins and needles, what's going to happen. So, similarly, this karma waiting for us, we don't know what it is. But, once it is done, it's out of the way. And karma is like money in your bank in a negative way. The longer it stays, the more interest it accrues. Right? So when Parishad Maharaj was cursed, then even before he was cursed, so when he went and when he put the snake on the shoulder of Shamik Rishi, he knew that he had done an offense. And he goes back and he says that let that reaction for that offense happen right now, so that I don't have to suffer about it later on. Right? Because he's an exalted soul, he knows how this works. So the longer it stays, the more interest it accrues, and the more severe the reaction would be. So people who are anchored into this, and that's the reason the Vedas talk about it also. The people who are anchored in this knowledge, they are able to deal with adversities in a way that it does not shake their faith. Right? Something bad has happened, okay. And for devotees, there's this famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 14th chapter, it's either verse 7 or verse 8. Tattenu kampam susumekshamano bunjane vatma Tattenu kampam susumekshamano bunjane vatma Hedvag uparbhurir vidadan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhak. I'm missing one phrase of it, but the verse is Tattenu kampam susumekshamano, that let all the trials and tribulations happen to me. I'm paraphrasing the translation. While these are happening to me, let my faith in Krishna be steady. And then the benediction that is given is by Brahma, benediction that is given is for such a person, devotional service becomes his birthright. So a person who tolerates all trials and tribulations that are happening while patiently waiting for Krishna's mercy to happen, while steadily executing devotional service, for such a person, Krishna's mercy becomes his birthright. So it is his right to claim. So it does not become Krishna, can you give me bhakti or not? It becomes, like Dhruv Maharaj. When he was going back to the spiritual world, then Yamaraj came running. And what did Dhruv Maharaj do? And he said, Yamaraj, he said, you put your head over here. And then he stepped on his head and he went into the chariot that took him back to the spiritual world. Right? So it was his right at the time to go back to the spiritual world. So our relationship to Krishna is not anchored on doing severe austerities, or we do sadhana Vaidhi bhakti, which we do. It is really anchored on our philosophical understanding of a relationship with Krishna, because everything begins and ends over here only, right? Two people may be in the same adverse situation. One person may be taking it in a very, very calm and collected way. One person may be completely bewildered. Externals are the same, the internals are different. What is the difference? The way the mind processes the two things. In Chopati, there was a disciple of Radhanath Maharaj, and a very young person. And he was initiated by Maharaj, and he married. His wife was pregnant, and he had Stoka Krishna Prabhu, and he found he had a very aggressive form of cancer. It was so aggressive that he knew that he had just 6 months to live, and the only one thing that was there in his mind was how fortunate I am that before my time is up, I've been introduced to Krishna consciousness. That was, he would thank people who would come. And in a way, it was a terrible situation. A young man, I don't know how much he was, maybe in his late 20s at the most. He knew he was not going to see the face of his child. He would die before his wife delivered. And he apparently had a very strong attraction to a certain kind of Braj Kirtan. And then it so happened that just a few days before he passed away, there was a group of Braj devotees who came, and it wasn't planned, but they came, they found out about it, and they went to his hospital room and they did Kirtan for him. So it's the same situation in Bhaktivedanta Hospital. There are so many devotees who are suffering so much, but somebody was saying that you see the mood is so different in that hospital than another hospital. That in other hospitals there is this whole sense, the energy there is just of helplessness, the energy is there of resentment, it's just a lot of angst, and there the energy is so much more sattvic. The situation is the same, people are sick in both cases. The only difference is how they process it. What is their philosophical understanding of it? Yeah?
And also you mentioned about why Krishna don't interfere with the karma. That also you can.
So Krishna's policy is that that if you have nothing to do with him, then he will have nothing to do with you. Right? What's that verse? That's it. Ye thamam prapadyante tastasevi pajamyam. That, as one approaches me, I reciprocate. So when you become indifferent to Krishna, Krishna becomes indifferent to you. When you extend your hand to Krishna, Krishna extends his hand to you. So devotees don't suffer karma. They suffer Krishna karma. Right? So so they still get some karma. As long as you have a body, you have karma, right? The symptom of a body is that you have karma that you have to extinguish. Right? But depending on the level of surrender, the karma that the devotees incur is not coming from Lord Yam. It is coming from Krishna, and Krishna sends it our way for purification. And because we don't become, or most of us don't become like pure devotees right away, it's a process of gradual purification, and karma helps us. Behind in every karma, there is some behind every trial and tribulation, there is some lesson for us. There are some realizations. When I had initially come to Krishna consciousness, it was one of the very interesting things that I had noticed, that when devotees would meet one another and they would say, "So Prabhu, what have been your realizations?" And I used to look at the word more literally. So realizations, root word is realize. That what have you realized, right? And I would say I haven't realized anything. And then later on, of course, the understanding was that we always try. So that's the realization that devotees have. We always try to see Krishna's hand. We always try to see how life is helping us either move closer to Krishna. What are the impediments that we place in our own path, in our progress to Krishna? So those are the realizations that we have. Those are realizations that we share with other devotees, right? Dadadi pratiganati guhyam akhiti prachati. So that is guhyam akhiti prachati. The guhyam akhiti prachati is not like, how was your commute today? And we still talk that, it's there. But guhyam akhiti prachati is like, what did you realize about your challenges in Krishna consciousness? What did you realize about your progress to in the path of spiritual advance? Yeah?
Thank you.
Yes? Questions, comments? I see you. Okay, go ahead. I'll take it.
So how do we resolve the parent contradiction between this verse and 7:7? The pearls are strung upon thread, everything is upon me. Yeah. This verse talking about.
Right. It's a good question. So that verse in Matata Paratram Nanya Kinchadasti Dhananjaya, where Krishna says that just like pearls are strung on the thread, everything rests upon me. So this verse actually, in a way, explains that verse. That if you remember, when we had a discussion on the verse, we said that the analogy of the thread is very apt, because the necklace depends on the thread, but the thread is not visible. Nobody sees the thread. Everybody sees the pearls. But if the thread is not there, there is no necklace. People, if you say, what's the most important part of the necklace, people say it's the pearls. But actually it's the thread. So Krishna, he is supporting everything. He is visible to the devotees, but not to others. So this verse is also talking about the same thing, that the whole material creation is supported by Krishna, but he has nothing to do with it. So he is not visible. He is not manifesting in every activity that you do. He is not manifesting in every suffering that you have or every enjoyment that you have. So how is he still manifested? Because he is the one who has established the law of karma. He is the one under whose fear the whole material world operates. But once he sets it in motion, he has nothing to do with it. One of the analogies that Prabhupada gives is that of a king and the laws of the kingdom. That a righteous king, he will establish the laws of the kingdom. That if somebody steals, this is the punishment. If somebody does this, this is the retribution for that. But then after that, he has nothing to do with it. If a person steals, they say, what is the law? You have to go to prison. You go to prison. So in a way, it's because the law established by the king, but actually the reason the person is going to the prison is because he stole. So that's where the two activities kind of come. One is what is known as the efficient cause. So efficient cause is the immediate cause. Why did the person go to the jail? Because he stole. That's called the immediate cause. And the efficient cause is the one that is not seen. That is because the king had established a law that if somebody steals, he goes to jail. He could have established a different law. If somebody steals, then you give him money, right? Then this could have been completely different. So that is what Krishna is doing for people who are not devotees. He established the laws, and they are operating within the laws. So they are operating within the framework established by Krishna. But ultimately, whatever they are doing is because of whatever is transpiring in the past and present. That helps? Okay, I have one question here, then I'll come to you, Malika.
So, example, but we have seen in Bhagavatam that when Dhruva Maharaj faced the god of death, Yamaraj, he put his foot on his head. So how do we see that as a devotee we should always be humble? In that situation, Yamaraj is also a devotee of the Lord. And so how do we see that behavior?
So this is the Leela. So when Yamaraj was approaching Dhruv, because as you rightly said, Yamaraj is a devotee himself. So what is the ultimate aspiration of a devotee? To serve another devotee, right? So it's not like Dhruv kicked Yamaraj down and he stepped on his foot and his head and went away. Yamaraj was happy to offer his head for Dhruv Maharaj to step on. Because Yamaraj as a devotee, he also saw the super excellent position of Dhruv Maharaj as an exalted devotee. Right? So there's no pride, there's no spite that Yamaraj did not come. That part is not very clearly revealed. That why was Yamaraj? So it said Yamaraj was hurriedly approaching Dhruva. And that part is not explained. That was he approaching to take his soul because it was his time to leave the body, or was he coming to take his darshan because he was an exalted devotee. Prabhupada also does not explain that in the purport, but he does explain this, that this is the position of a devotee, that everybody is very happy to serve a devotee. So within our parampara also we see that when sannyasis come, when more advanced devotees comes, then it just naturally enlivens us to serve them, whatever little that we can do. Somebody goes and picks up at the airport, somebody cooks for them, somebody will just open the door and keep it for them. Otherwise, they really have no. Like your boss, he can fire you, he can promote you, so he has some hold on you, right? Your parents, they have a position, or they have a hold of affection on you. So there are different holds that have. These people, they don't have any hold on you, but still you're naturally inclined to serve because you're on a spiritual path yourself, and you see they're also there. Right? So it's not. It doesn't come out of this pastime. It does not reflect negatively. It's more of devotees trying to serve one another. Yeah. Malika?
Prabhuji, this came up in the first canto discussion that you.
We have Bhakti Vaibhav students over here.
Actually, Mataji also today in today's half an hour recitation of the first canto, and again you mentioned the same point actually this Wednesday about how even exalted souls somehow do make mistakes, and so because of thirst or hunger or some very extreme emotion, mistakes are made. And one more example that comes to mind is
glorious.
something glorious over time.
Mm.
So, but how do we relate? So I've been thinking about that, and how do we relate to that in terms of our behavior? Because we do the same thing, sometimes without intentionally harming people, we are harming people. And then you wonder that, oh, why am I suffering? Or my actions are pure. And I guess most people do think that they're doing the right thing. So although somebody may think like my manager is harming me, but the manager himself, oftentimes when you confront people, they think that's a completely blind spot.
Yeah, it's a whole different perspective.
Whole different, and you get to see something, and then when you sometimes when you sit and resolve conflict, oftentimes at workplace, the same thing happens. You talk to people and they're like, oh, but I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So the intentions are often not wrong.
Yeah.
Or circumstantially one is forced into doing things. So how do we think about this, and how do we reconcile this in our life?
It's a very good and practical question. I have some thoughts on it, but I just want to hear if somebody else has thoughts on it. Something that we face on almost a day-to-day basis, especially those who are married.
No, there is an implication there. I can hear it. You have 20 minutes to do.
What was that?
You have 20 minutes to.
Well, generally it's like this, right? Thoughts, ideas?
I think sometimes like when you do something, you cannot, like as a human being, you cannot know the whole picture, It's like you only know, you don't have a bird's eye view, you have an ant's eye view. Right? You just know what is in front of you, so you act, okay, what is either good for you or what is good for your loved ones, right? And like for example, very nice, like before she was born, if I would see an ant, I would take a leaf or a paper or put the ant outside the house and never kill it. Right? But if I see an ant, like if in a play area, my first instance of he's playing it, like somehow I will like grab it or kill it, right? It's like, so my intention is to save her.
Correct.
Right? But I am killing.
Correct. Yeah. So the scope of understanding of our action, that is very relevant to what we do. Anirudh?
I think it's a cycle of karmas. I mean, I have my karma cycle life by life, and I have my learnings and all those things. Same thing with everybody, and we are not staying in a society where I am alone. Everybody is performing their karma. Maybe at that interaction we face something else that can be an opportunity to learn, and whatever we learn this life with those kind of contacts, so be humble, we can get that this is arranged for our learning, or that way we can take
That's
it.
a very good point. Yeah. So if you're able to see what is the lesson that is there within us. So it is said that, Prabhupada said this, that striving for perfection is a form of impersonalism. Why? Because there's only one perfect person, right? So if you try to be perfect, you're trying to be that person. So as jivas, we are always going to be imperfect. What are the 4 defects that all jivas suffer from?
Tendency to cheat others,
They have a tendency to cheat others.
getting illusionized,
Their illusion. The illusion is that they're the body.
and making mistakes,
Yeah. Propensity to commit mistakes.
Forgetfulness.
And for pramad. For forgetfulness or ignorance. So everybody, it's said from Brahma to the example that Ruchi you were giving, from Brahma to the smallest ant. everybody to different degrees. Brahma does not forget a lot. We forget a lot, but everybody has these. It's the universal characteristic in this material world that we are all under illusion, some form or the other. We all make mistakes. We all have partial incomplete knowledge. We make and we have a tendency to cheat others to some extent. Doesn't mean that so what tendency is important. Doesn't mean that we go around trying to look at people and saying how can I cheat you. Some people may, but not most of the people. How can I cheat you? But we have this tendency that comes from. So it's a topic and so where does each of these defect? What is the root of each of this defect? What is the root of tendency to cheat others? It comes from your false ego. So why do you cheat others? When you say that I am right and you are wrong. That's when you cheat. When you try to convince the person, I am right, you are wrong. Right? And with whatever equipment you have, you will use that, whether it is factual or not. So again, we should not take shelter of these four things and then say, well, I have a tendency to cheat others, might as well cheat, what's the problem? Or, I have a tendency to forget, so why should I remember? But it is there. So perfection is not to be in a situation where you don't make mistakes. Perfection is a situation where you learn from your mistakes. And that Prabhupada would say, if you make a mistake, it's okay. But if you make the mistake over and over again, you're a 10th class person. Which means that you're not learning from your mistakes. So thank you. That's a good point. So, Janki, you had your hand.
I just want to follow to her question also. I have a similar question. When something bad happens to us and they say this is because of your past karma, so that's why you are going through. But that karma is also being created, let's say, by somebody. Somebody else is doing that bad karma to us. So how does it manifest? Like, is it, I understand that we have done something, so we are going through a bad time. But then somebody else is doing it to us. So how do you?
That part it's complicated, right? That how does this actually happen? In I'm going to say Mahabharata, but I'm not 100% sure. But there is this pastime of a Brahman. Just to illustrate this point, this pastime of a Brahman, and he was a brahmachari. He was traveling, and it became night. So as was the custom at the time, he went to the first house. He knocked at the door. Said, "I'm a Brahman traveling. Can I have shelter in your house for the night?" So there was a Grahastha couple living there, a man and his wife. They were Brahmins themselves. He said, "Yes, our house is yours. You take rest here." And so the brahmachari ate, and he went there. So when he was sleeping, at the middle of the night, there was a knock at the door. So he opened the door, and the Brahman's wife was there. And the Brahman's wife said that, "I would like to spend the night with you." So Brahmachari said, "How is that possible? Firstly, I'm a brahmachari, I'm celibate, and secondly, you're married. I'm a guest in your house. It doesn't, it's not possible." And then she said, "Why are you worried about if I'm married? If it doesn't affect me, why does it affect you?" And he said, "It does affect me." So she said, "Okay, wait for a minute." So she went to her room and she killed her husband and came back. She said, "I'm not married anymore." So that problem is solved. So the brahmachari said, "This is a heavy duty Mataji." So he said, "Please wait for a while. So I'll get ready and come." And then of course, he went out of the door. So and he ran away. And then he went to his guru, and then he said, "Why did this happen to me?" He said, "I haven't hurt anybody, I haven't done anything, and this terrible situation happened to me." So his guru was he was exalted, so he was able to, he was Chakalakya. So he said that in the previous life, the Brahman was a butcher, and his wife was a cow. And one day, when the butcher was taking the cow to be killed, the cow ran away. And as it was running away, the butcher was running behind the cow saying, stop, stop, stop. You were a man at the time and you stopped the cow and you gave it to the Brahman. So all three of you were, and of course the butcher took and killed the cow. So all three of you were involved in this karma. So then the point that he was making is that there are no accidents, there are no coincidences. But then later on he says is for you to understand how everything is manifesting at every point of time is not possible. There are only 12 people in this whole universe who understand how karma works. They're called the 12 Mahajans. And they're exalted people. Yamraj is one of them. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiv, Kapila, Swayambhu Manu, Maharaj Janak, Sukadeva Goswami. So exalted people. But because of their piety, because of their intelligence, they understand that. So he said, better for you to just understand the principle. Because if you try to understand the manifestation of it, then it's beyond your ability, your knowledge, etc. That this person harmed me. Did I harm this person, or is this person like one of the questions people say is that Ravi Prabhu harmed me. So does that mean that I harmed Ravi Prabhu? Or so in that case the karma is okay. Or is it that he's accruing karma? So let's assume he hurts me, right? So is he going to get any karma for that? Or is he just neutralizing the karma that I hurt him in the previous life, now he's doing that? So many situations like that happen. Sometimes there's karma getting neutralized, sometimes karma getting created. How did this whole situation come in that out of their own free will people did that? It's all happening by the rules that Krishna has put into place. And sufficient for us to understand that we can't understand that, but we can understand this core principle. That we are responsible for everything that is happening to us. That's the core principle that comes. So law of karma is not, the other things are corollaries actually. The law of karma is, the fact that action, reaction, this, that, good, bad, those are corollaries. The root of the law of karma is to give us this understanding that we are responsible for everything that is happening to us. Once you get situated in that place, then your perspective to life changes. To things that like in the second chapter, Krishna, and throughout Bhagavad Gita, he glorifies one quality most in the jivas. One quality that he glorifies over and over again. What's that quality? There's one quality right from the second chapter. He begins to glorify that quality. Humility.
Forgiveness.
No. What is that?
Sincerity.
So, no. One quality that he glorifies right from the beginning is detachment. That is one quality right from the beginning in the second chapter. My devotees are detached. Sannyasi is detached. A sadhu is detached. One who is detached is a great person. So chapter 2, beginning from around verse 47 onwards, he begins that glorification. Where does the detachment come from? So what is the detachment? That one is the same. One is the same in happiness and distress, in heat and cold. One is the same in honor and dishonor. In all the dualities that the life gives you, one is the same. That is the definition of detachment. How does the detachment, what is the philosophical basis of the detachment? When you understand that there is nobody else in play but you and the modes of material life. Right? The moment somebody else is in play, the detachment goes away. Right? If Prabhu comes to me and he says something that hurts me too much, and I say that, oh, this Prabhu is bad, this Prabhu said all these things to me, then the anxiety or the agitation in me will increase because I have no control on him. Next time I see him, I don't know, he'll say the same thing in me, right? I have control on myself, but if I say this thing has happened to me because of something that I did, right? So then that anxiety goes away, that sense of being tossed about in the waves of happiness and distress, that goes away. So that's why this law of karma is considered to be like not even spirituality. It's considered to be living 101. The art of living 101 is understanding the law of karma. That I'm the person that is responsible for it. Spirituality comes later on. It builds upon it later on. Yeah, because in the second chapter, Krishna hasn't spoken about anything. He hasn't spoken about himself. There can be no bhakti without Krishna speaking about himself. Doesn't speak about himself in the fourth chapter, right? But he starts talking about detachment right away, based on the understanding of karma. Is it up? Anything else?
I have just one point. The point Mataji made that sometimes we do mistakes unintentionally, and then later we understand. So if we look at the pastime of, I think, Sanatana Goswami, when he is overseeing the pastime of Radha and Krishna, and suddenly sight goes out of his sight. So he immediately understands he had did some offense, and genuinely he went to his brother and or guru asking for what mistake I did. So similarly in life, something goes wrong, we get some indication that something has gone wrong. And if we genuinely inquire, like guru or something, we get an indication what mistake we did.
Right.
And then if we do that prayashit like the way he asked all the Brahmins and then understood, someone got offended. I think in life, so many things can be resolved that way, that if we genuinely try to understand something goes wrong, that means I did something wrong.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, as long as you keep the focus on yourself, right? And then that is taking it to the second level. That I keep the focus on myself, and then I also keep the burden of the remediation on myself, right? And then one proceeds from the stage of actually from detachment to being happily engaged, right? Then like Rupa Goswami in this case, right? He called all the Vaishnavas, he served them. He went to the particular Vaishnava who thought he was laughing at him and begged his forgiveness. And he didn't try to explain to him that actually I wasn't laughing at you, I was laughing at somebody. He explained to him, but he just begged his forgiveness. So Vaishnava was happy to forgive him. That takes us to the next stage of being gainfully engaged. Yeah. Thank you, that's a good point. Prabhu.
I have one question. You said a few minutes ago the purpose of one devotee is to serve other devotees.
Yeah.
I look at this way, the purpose of a devotee is to serve all mankind. Not only devotees, but all people.
Yeah. So it depends on the level of, depends on the vision of a devotee, right? So like in the nectar of instruction, they say there are three kinds of devotees, or rather three levels of devotees. There is one that is like a neophyte, Kanishtadhikari, and there is a Madhyamadhikari, and there is an Uttamadhikari. So Uttamadhikari, advanced devotee, he sees everybody as a devotee of Krishna, and with the exception of one person that he does not see as a devotee of Krishna, that is he himself, right? So he's constantly trying to serve everybody, whether they are devotees, whether they are chandals, whether they are whatever they are. That is his mood. That you have a relationship with Krishna, somehow I have messed up my relationship, but through your service, I can somehow establish my. Madhyamadhikari makes this distinction between a devotee and not a devotee. And they try to serve the devotees, and they try to keep some distance from the non-devotees. It's not that they will do disservice to the non-devotees, but because they are not that advanced, they are not able to establish the uniformity of their ability to serve. It's kind of like this, Prabhu, that supposing a person has a family, right? And the children are hungry and the neighbor's children are hungry. So first the person will try and get food for their own children, then the neighbor's children. Now, if the person is more advanced, then he doesn't care. So my neighbor's children, they are children. Let me serve them. So it's not that what the first person is doing is bad. It is what he is doing based on his level of advancement, right? Sometimes what people do is that they will establish the highest principle for others and follow the lowest principle themselves. Right? They will sit around and say, you should be actually doing this, that you should be serving the whole world. And I saw that you were not serving the dogs. The dogs are also related to Krishna, very bad. And what about you? You are not taking care of trees. Trees are also people of servants of Krishna, right? And what about me? How come none of you are serving me? Right, so when they apply the principles to the other people, they will expect them to be at the highest principle, but themselves they will take to whatever principle is most convenient. So in spirituality, especially for people who are practicing devotees, very early one of the principles that is explained is that of adhikar. That what is your right to follow devotional service? Are you an uttamadhikari? Are you Mahabhagavat? Which means that you see everybody with samdrishti. Are you Madhyamadhikari? Which means that you serve the devotees and you keep a distance from the non-devotees. Are you a neophyte? Neophyte means you serve the deities, you try and take instructions from the devotees, and you actively avoid the association of non-devotees. That is meant for neophytes. It is meant for them, but that is what they should do. Because if a neophyte, he starts developing artificially the samdrishti, that everybody is the same. He goes to somebody and says that, Prabhu, I am so happy to see you. The person slaps him. Why are you coming to me? Why are you wasting my time? But because he still has the anarthas in his mind, then he will develop hatred for that person. So he will not be able to sustain that. I think it was in Mayapur. It's a little different, but just to explain the concept of adhikar, I think it was in Mayapur or either it was in Gita Nagari. I forget where it was. But one of Prabhupada's disciples, he was from Kenya, but not 100% sure. So he came, a new devotee. He came and he attended a few classes. He heard the pastime of Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur would chant for every day. He would chant for 23 and a half hours. Only for half an hour he would take bath and all that. He would chant. He would chant 64 rounds, 192 rounds every day. He said, I'll do that. So he picked a tree. This is my tree. He put his asana under there and started chanting. 23 and a half hours every day he would chant. So at that time, the mood in ISKCON was, there were not many congregation. So everybody who was a devotee was supposed to work. When they joined the temple, somebody would cook, somebody would go out and distribute books. So other people would say, Prabhu, do something, do some work. You are just sitting and chanting. He said, no, I'm like Haridas Thakur, I just chant. And so they went to Prabhupada. He said, that person, you're sitting there chanting all the time. Prabhupada said, leave him. See how long he chants. So, only for 1 week he chanted. After that he left, never to be seen again. There. Why? Because he was artificially acting at an adhikar that did not belong to him. Right? So, it is good for us, it is recommended that we think like that we serve everybody. That, what is that? Manav Seva, Madhav Seva, right? Manav Seva, Madhav Seva, right? Our only way to serve Krishna is by going and serving everybody. But practically, can we do it? Will we do it if there is any challenges for our health? Then it's not Manav Seva, Madhav Seva, right? Then it will be Bhayahari Seva, Madhav Seva. Like first let me take care of my health, then I will take care of it. Or something happens in my family, right? Then it is Bhayahari Kutum Seva, Madhav Seva. First let me take care of my family and then do it. So in making advancements, it's good to know where you are and good to know where you want to be, and then take gradual steps there. So one must always be anchored in this conception that we want to be, because that is Krishna's conception, right? One of Krishna's name that he's worshipped in Orissa is Jagannath, right? So he is Jagannath, right? He's not Jag means everybody. He is not part of this Nath, part of that Nath. So if you are serving Krishna, then you serve Krishna's family. You know, that's our goal. How do we get to that goal? We proceed. We proceed step by step. Does that help, Prabhu?
Thanks.
Yeah, okay. Prabhu?
I have a question. I was thinking for quite some time. It's a very simple one.
Mm-hmm.
So from karma, then we learn like jnana, knowledge. Then we do karma with the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Then we slowly introduce towards bhakti.
Mm-hmm.
And is it required like because after coming into bhakti we should leave jnana and so that we can proceed further in bhakti, or how does it work?
We don't leave Gyan, but we dovetail Gyan. We dovetail Gyan. See, all this is Gyan, right, in a way. But what do we use the Gyan for? We use the Gyan to increase our bhakti. You know, there are many people who are scholars in Bhagavad Gita, who are scholars in Bhagavatam, right? And they are just scholars. They have read it, they have read 25 different commentaries, they understand all the Sanskrit translation, but it doesn't do anything to their heart. So they are what would be called as Gyanis. Prabhupada would say they are speculative, people who are into speculative knowledge. We also study the verses, we try and understand it in details, we try and understand the nuances of the Sanskrit. But ultimately the reason we do it is that from Gyan, it becomes Vigyan. So from knowledge, it becomes practice. And from Vigyan, it becomes Bhakti. And from Bhakti, then, it encourages us to seek more Gyan. So if you see the life of any devotee, if you see your own life, it goes into this cycle. That you first had some inquisitiveness. Based on that inquisitiveness, you got some knowledge, some Gyan. Whether it was attending class at the temple, reading Bhagavad Gita on yourself, coming over here, you got some knowledge. Based on that knowledge, you started doing something. Right? You changed your lifestyle, you started chanting, started reading Bhagavad Gita regularly. So that is Vigyan. So that is realizations that you got. Based on those realizations, you matured or nurtured your relationship with Krishna. So you took to chanting steadily and perhaps deity worship. And then what did that result in? Let me find out what else is there. What else is written in Bhagavad Gita? What else is there other than Bhagavad Gita? There's Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitamrita, Tattva Sandarbhas. What else is written over there? More knowledge, more Gyan, more Vigyan, more Bhakti. So in this way, they nourish one another. Prabhupada would say that when we surrender to Krishna, we don't surrender our intelligence to Krishna. We surrender to Krishna with our intelligence. So we surrender to Krishna with full understanding, to the level we are able to, but with full understanding of our relationship with Krishna. We are not sentimentalists in that way.
See this again, please. The intelligence.
So Prabhupada would say that we don't surrender our intelligence to Krishna. So surrendering our intelligence to Krishna is like you coming to me and I say, Prabhu, don't ask questions, just chant Hare Krishna. No need to apply your intelligence. Krishna is God, just surrender to Him. That is it. Bas, khatam. Right? There are a lot of people that will have that conversation with you. Right? And to some extent, they will just say Krishna is infinite, you are infinitesimal, you have nothing. How can somebody limited grasp the unlimited? So don't even try. Just surrender to Krishna. Just chant. Right? So that is, so what do you do is when you put your intelligence aside, what remains are your doubts. So those doubts are the ones that will pull you back eventually. But what Prabhupada says is that we don't surrender our intelligence. We surrender along with our intelligence. So we use our intelligence to understand and to convince ourselves about our position so that when there are adversities, then we fall back on our intelligence. Yes, this is why these adversities are happening to me. This is how I can explain. Sometimes people see other devotees acting in inexplicable manner. Right? If a person does not have strong faith, then they lose faith themselves. There have been cases where, and India is famous for that, right? People of very, very high stature, people with big followings, and then suddenly you find out, some shocking things about them, right? And then you say, is this bhakti? Is this Bhagwan? Right? Then you reject everything, right? At that time. That's when their intelligence comes to your rescue at the time. Yes, sir.
Then when we come out of cycle of birth and death and karma, so in this material world we are controlled by mind and we have our senses. So mind have knowledges. So when we try to come out of every situation, and bhakti has the mercy of Krishna. So it will not, as of my knowledge, like one thing we can take away is our spiritual knowledge. So how we will come out of this material, then we will completely go to the spiritual world with the intelligence. If somebody understand that there are many understanding, many part of Krishna's service. If somebody understand that I born to serve Krishna's devotees and devotees, Dasanudas. So he's understanding that this is what I understood. All the knowledges that is created for this is, and every other knowledge is not valueless for him. In that situation, how the Gyan part will work? He is not able to think anything else because what he understands is everything knowledge is to realize.
That. It's a good question. So once Prabhupada was in London, and a reporter approached him and asked him that Swamiji, what have you come here to teach us? And Prabhupada said that nothing. I've just come to remind you that which you have forgotten. So the point he was making is that the nature of the soul is that it knows everything. So when we are making advancement, we are not learning anything new. We are reminding that which because of our conditioning, we have forgotten. So knowledge is intrinsic in the soul. So even though we may uncover parts of understanding based on our realizations, like you are saying, one realization is that the purpose in my life is to serve devotees, right? And based on that, the person makes spiritual advancements and they eventually go back to Godhead. But when you go back to Godhead, then what you lose is the material covering to your knowledge. The knowledge is there. The soul never changes. It has all knowledge at all points of time. What happens is, the example that is given is of the sun being covered by the clouds. That a person on the ground might think that it's dark. But when the clouds goes by, this light comes. The sunlight is always there. So the knowledge is always there. And it does not even have to be restated. It just has to be uncovered. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Otherwise, are we? Okay, probably out of time. So, where's Anulika gone? Oh, she's doing Gayatri. Okay. So, Can somebody call the kids from the garage? From the other garage, the basement. Somebody call can you call the kids for the kirtan?
There are hardly any kids left.
I have to stop.